So when I started making YouTube videos, I couldn't watch enough of these videos where people actually show their entire setup, going into detail about the light, the audio and all the equipment they used. And to be honest, even now I still like to watch them. So let's show you our YouTube setup. My name is Damien Cooper and welcome to Monkey Pixels. So let's start by saying all the things that I really want in a YouTube setup. And obviously it has to look good, it has to sound good, but 3, and that is also important because I'm a really lazy person, is it has to be set up really quickly. What I mean by that, if I have to start pulling out all the tripods, setting up the lights and the audios and the camera and everything, then making YouTube videos becomes more of a chore than actually something that I really enjoy. So that is one criteria I can't stress enough. So we don't really have a dedicated space for it, but I'm using my main office space for filming all our YouTube videos. This is where I do all the hardcore editing work when editing something for clients or even for our YouTube videos, although Belle is editing most of our YouTube videos. So I usually have another chair that I actually work in, but I switched that out for making YouTube videos because this one is way lower and doesn't really distract from the background. And on the other side I have our standing desk, and this is where I do a lot of light work, email type of things, and also do some tech reviews. So right here in the corner is the main equipment I use for filming our YouTube videos, and that is our main light source as well as the audio source. And these just stand there in the corner and are kind of tucked away, so I don't really have to set them up from somewhere else. So let's start with our main light source. And I already did a review on the Linkstar light that we're using for our main YouTube light a couple of weeks ago, and I can't really recommend that light enough because A, it's really inexpensive and it has the option for a great softbox and makes for a great quality of light. So it stands on our Valimax light stands, and that is a German brand I think, and they operate under a different name in different countries, but they're fairly inexpensive as well and they just do what they're supposed to. So I can't really recommend using boom poles enough because it gives you a lot of flexibility, and we're also using a boom pole by the same company called Valimax with a counterweight attached on the other side, and that way I am really flexible. So A, I can just tuck the light away when I don't need it, but when I'm actually filming myself I can get as close to my face as possible. So let's go to our main audio source, and we're using a Rode video mic lavalier right now, which is okay for these run and gun type situations, but if you really want to get the best audio out of your YouTube videos, then I recommend having a dedicated shotgun mic. Right now we just moved into this space a couple months ago and we've been so much on the road that we didn't really have the time to set the studio space up correctly. So we're missing audio panels and the audio in here just sucks right now. We're trying to get on that later on, but for now we are trying to fight the reverb by just moving the mic as close to my mouth as possible. All right. So our main audio source is the Rode NT-G4 Plus, and I really like that. It's not the best and most expensive microphone you can get out there, but it definitely does the job. And it is powered by XLR through the phantom power of the camera. If you don't have a cinema camera that supports XLR audio, don't worry about it. You can use a Zoom H5 for example, or any other handy recorder to actually record your audio into. The thing about that is that you have to sync them later in post, which is one more step. I already mentioned I'm really lazy, so I'm trying to avoid that. But if you're not having this and you don't want to record into a handy audio, just use a shotgun microphone like the Video Mic Pro Plus or something that you can actually get an extension cord and just have the headphone jack right into your Sony camera, your mirrorless camera, whatever camera you're using. So it stands on a just basic microphone tripod, and again this one is pretty flexible, so I can move it as close to my mouth as possible to get the best audio I can go for. So as our main camera, as for pretty much everything else, we're using our cinema camera, the C200. We usually record our YouTube videos in 4K in the MP4 format, which is pretty much the perfect codec to record your audio, your YouTube videos with, because it doesn't really eat up a lot of space. It's 4K, it's really the best codec you can wish for when recording YouTube videos. As the monitor, I have a 7-inch Field World Master that I just turned around so that I can see myself, and whenever I'm filming myself, that I know about the exposure and the angle that I'm actually looking into the camera with. So I can't really stress that enough that I hate using tripods. Actually, I despise tripods. So whenever I don't really have to use a tripod, I try not to. So in that case, we don't use a tripod at all. I just put the camera on top of this adjustable IKEA desk, and this way I can just move it up, move it down, and this way really flexible, adjust the height and adjust the angle of and framing of me filming the YouTube videos. So as our main lens, we're using the 24mm 1.4 by Canon, because on the Super 35 sensor of our cinema camera, it gives you about 38mm equivalent on a full frame, which I think is perfect for the framing I want in our YouTube videos, because it's a nice mid-portrait shot, and that is exactly what I'm going for. Also, the really open aperture is really great for filming yourself, because it gives you, even though it's fairly wide angle, it gives you a nice bokeh and a little bit of a blurry background. Let's move on and talk about the background. And I'm trying to kill two birds with one stone here, and I would usually use a hair light, or in my case a headlight, so to speak. But since I have these huge monitors that give up a lot of light, I can actually use them as a hair light, and I can also use them as a somewhat interesting background by just switching out my desktop wallpaper as well. We also have these practical lights in the background, and that is our ceiling light, as well as these decoration lights by Philips, and I will get into that a little later on. So basically now we just set up our YouTube studio as quickly as possible. So that is just by adjusting the height of our main light, and this is pretty much where I'm sitting. Next up is the audio. Again, trying to get it as close to my mouth as possible. We'll do fine adjustments later. It's probably better if you go on the other side now. All right, so let's switch on the light here. And the light power is really set to really low. I think it's on 12% right now, which is way enough to illuminate my face, because I'm getting it as close to my head as possible to give it a really soft look and really have it spread onto my face. So, sitting right here, now there comes the part where I'm actually adjusting the height via my table, which is my favorite tripod ever when it comes to filming YouTube videos. So that is pretty much where I adjust my height. And as you can see, I have the light extremely close to my face. I also like to have it angled a little bit 45 degrees from either side, so that gives off this shadow on one side of my face, so that it makes the whole video not as flat and a little bit more interesting. So let's move that up a little bit more so that I'm not really cutting my head off. All right, now, and that is really important, move the audio source, the microphone, as close to your face as possible and as close to your mouth as possible, because that gives the best audio and you don't really pick up any surrounding sounds, or even in this really shitty sounding room, you get the best audio possible. So as of right now, I'm actually switching to the Rode mic that I'm pointing towards myself. So here we go. So the audio should be way better from now on, but you can see that it's a little bit in the framing. So let's just adjust this a tiny bit. All right, that's perfect. So there you have it. This is our YouTube studio setup, but now the lighting is really flat. So what we like to do is we actually like to switch the light source to make it a little bit more interesting. So, Alexa, turn office to orange.
Wow, it worked the first time.
Yeah, it worked the first time because that bee is really not... Anyway, so now we have a little bit of more of moody lighting, which I really like already, but I also like to go a little bit for color contrast. So what we like to do is, Alexa, turn office ceiling to teal. All right, Alexa, turn office ceiling to teal. Thank you. All right. So this time it took 2 turns. Anyway, so now we have an orange and teal color contrast in the background. We are filming myself in 5600 Kelvin in the front. So that way we have even more color contrast. And the desktop wallpapers kind of complement the orange light coming off from our U Philips lights, and we really like them, and they're just tied to our Alexa, and we can use them throughout the entire apartment and even set the mood for videos we shoot. We sometimes even take the U lights onto our production settings because you have a little bit of a practical light in the background and you can illuminate some spots in different colors. So that I really like because they also run on battery for about 3 hours on the highest settings, so even as a practical light on set, they're fairly useful. So there you have it. Now you know all our equipment that we used in this video. I'm crazy proud that we did all that in one take, or pretty much one take. And if you want to know anything about our equipment, you can find all the links down in the description below. If you have any questions, or if you're a YouTuber as well, maybe just let us know in the comments, and I'll see you on the next one.
That's my part.
Whew.
One take challenge.